Welcome to Just a Cup on Believe. I'm Coach Brian Fetzer, and this is a conversation with the world's greatest athletes and the individuals that played the part of getting them to that position. And we have a great guest today. I'm so excited to introduce Samson Sandhu from the Southern Peninsula Sharks in Australia, Big V Professional Basketball League. We like to shake things up, kind of go in a little different direction. And we'll bring in a professional basketball player that most of you probably have never heard of, the Big V League, and probably didn't even realize there was professional basketball in Australia because, unfortunately, you live in a bubble and in the United States, and you think the only thing is the NBA. So, Samson, welcome, and welcome to Just a Cup. I'm excited to talk because there's a lot to unpack, and you've got a story that's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. So first off, being from India, and I'm not, it's one of those things that, we have a lot of Indian Americans that are, in the United States, but I mean, you grew up, born, raised, and I've been to India. It's an amazing place, but it's not necessarily a place I would think of if you said India, name two sports. I would go cricket, badminton, or something of that nature. I wouldn't say basketball.
Yeah.
So how did the basketball journey begin?
I think for me, I was 11 and I was playing cricket. That was always the first love for me, or still is the first love. And I kept playing cricket for the longest time. And then we would play cricket in the streets, and just next to the street, there was a YMCA. And the coach there, he would always see us play cricket out in the sun and, just playing cricket 24/7. And he was like, why don't you come and try basketball? And a few of my cousins used to play, but I never really followed their footsteps. I just wanted to follow where they were going. I just stayed with cricket. And just one day the coach said, you guys just come on for an hour each week and we'll see how you guys go. And I think the first day when I picked up the basketball, it was like I was waiting for a Monday every week to go from 4 to 5 p.m. and just play basketball and learn. And I think that was how it was for the first 3 years. It was just 1 hour each week, and that's it. I think it just sucked me into it. And cricket kind of slowly faded out. And that was it. I think that was the start of my basketball journey with the YMCA. So that was a blessing.
So you're playing basketball in India, and then you come to Ohio, Ohio Christian, which hey, no knock on Ohio Christian. It's not the school I'd ever think of in Ohio, for one, of basketball, and two, how in the world did you even find Ohio Christian?
I think so. I first came to the U.S. just because I finished my college in India. We graduated from college in India, and I played college in India over here, and we won.
What college in India?
Mumbai University. So we won the whole national championship of India that year, and I was like, okay, maybe I think it would be really good if I took it up and wanted to play at a professional level in the U.S. or just play college again. So professional was the first one, and there was an opportunity with Athletes in Action through one of our mutual friend, James. He probably started putting a fire in me, saying let's go to the US and see what they will offer us. So I went to Athletes in Action and trained there for a couple of months. And when it was starting to near the end of my journey there, because I was only there for a business tourist visa. And then towards the end, we were like, let's try it for a couple of college teams, because the professional route, I wasn't ready for it. Just coming from India, I don't think I necessarily had the set game and playing a structured basketball. So the coaches there told me, I think the college basketball route would be much better for me. And then my first tryout was with the Taylor University in Indiana. So we drew down there. And tried out there, but the spots were filled. So one of the coaches there told us that there's a coach who's looking for players. And so I went down to Ohio Christian. That's how Ohio Christian came into the picture. And I tried out with Ohio Christian, and coach liked me, and he gave me a spot on the team. And yeah, the rest is probably history with there.
It's amazing. The whole recruiting process and the whole how individuals go to certain schools is amazing to me. I mean, having coached in college for a long time, there's always stories about the why, like why did somebody go to what school and how they got there. And it's there's never just a straight narrow, hey, this is the reason why, this is how it happened. So it's fascinating to hear that. That you come over and play in Ohio, and it's in the NAIA school, and then after that you get a chance to play, hone your skills. How did you get to Australia? Like, how did that whole, I mean, did you go back home to India and play for a little bit, or did the transition right to Australia happen?
Right. So when I graduated in 2020, and that's when the whole COVID hit. And then 2021 is, so I just stayed in the US. I worked, made some money, and I was nearing to the end of my stay in the US. And there was an opportunity in Brazil that came about. But I couldn't get the visa because I was in the US and not in India. I had to be in India to get the visa. So that didn't happen. And then there was a few coaches that had lined up just a thought in doing something in Australia. And I was like, wow, like that's just far. When I think of Australia, I just think of just like, it's just this land that no one really talks about, so far away on the other side. But when they said like there might be an opportunity for basketball, I was like, wow, that is pretty cool. And I was just like, okay, let's just keep that in talks, and maybe some of the coaches would see me. But there was really no coaches. I came back from the US to India in end of 2021 in December, and I was talking to James and Jonathan. They're like the two of my mentors right now. They were just telling me, like, you might have to go to Australia and travel with the team. And I was like, wow, like I don't know if I could do that, but like I said, a journey for me has always been I have to step out in faith and go. So I, got my visa to Australia, got my own flight tickets and everything, and I just went. Not, I didn't know that I was going to get a spot on the team, so I tried out with one of the teams which was Southern Peninsula Sharks in 2022. And I had like a 2-day tryout, and I got it. I got a spot on the team. I wasn't getting paid because I came in the middle of the week. So, but the club was pretty good about me doing some work on the side, training kids, so I could make money that way and work as a customer service person, and just like try to do things on the side to be financially stable.
Right.
And that was it. That was my first year in Australia.
I mean, I think so many people, when they think of professional sports, specifically individuals from the United States or even India, when you're thinking about the IPL, I mean, they think of these grand, arenas. They think of these, robust contracts and all this fanfare, because, you see certain aspects, but you don't see everything.
All right.
But there's professional leagues all over the world, and you're professional. You get paid to do things. But the journey and the level is a little different. What was your expectation, having the opportunity to play professionally in Australia? What was your expectations? Did you see the NBA and think like, this was going to be, I'm going to be playing for, the Indiana Pacers or the Dallas Mavericks?
Yeah. I mean, growing up, after I picked up basketball, wanting to be in the NBA is always a dream. For me, it still is. I just want to keep pushing out my limits and see if I could even put a step into the G League, hopefully. But I think with that, I just had a dream of, wow, it'd be nice to have a big, big contract, but with big we. Also, so I'm like an unrestricted import because I'm from India, and in Australia, Indians and Asian people are considered as unrestricted. We're not like Americans or Europeans. So that's a very positive thing for me. And that's why I've been stuck in Australia for the past 3 years. because it's a good way for me to be a part of a professional team without having any restrictions.
Yeah, because
Um,
in Europe, in a lot of European countries and leagues, you're limited to maybe 2 Americans or 3
yes,
Americans on the team.
yep, mhm,
That's pretty unique to have an unrestricted international
yep.
player. Uh,
That
that's
is
that's pretty unique. That's
that
that's
is
that's fortunate.
yeah, that is yeah. Because a lot of teams are restricted, obviously, to imports. But the league I'm in, we can only have one import, and then I'm the other unrestricted import. So it really helps the teams.
So I mean, so basketball. I mean, India is such a vast
Hmm.
country population
Yep.
wise, and cricket obviously is. I mean, I just watched a
Yeah.
documentary on cricket a couple days
Yeah.
ago because the T20 World Championships, part of them, are getting hosted in Miami, where I live. So
Okay.
I'm excited to go get a chance to go watch that.
Yeah.
My wife and I are excited to go to watch that. But is basketball growing in popularity and in gaining traction in India?
Yes, I would definitely say I know there's a lot of negative sides coming with it, but I'm genuinely focused more on the positive things that are coming up. Kids are bringing the swag in. The next generation is, more involved with basketball. They're watching more of the NBA games. You're like when you walk into a basketball place in India, like when I was playing, there were the kids wouldn't wear any of the NBA jerseys, but now kids wear like Steph Curry, LeBron James, there's Giannis, and they bring their
Right.
swag, like nice shoes, the Kobe Grinches. I'm like, that's pretty good. Like, they're focusing on those things, which is good. Kids need that swag. But with parents too, parents are really involved in investing in their kids to play basketball too. So it's definitely growing.
Do you think? I mean, Sacramento, the Kings are
Hmm.
owned by an Indian businessman. I
Yes.
mean,
Yep.
has that helped? Kind of, have the Kings become like the team of India?
I would say no. I think still there's a lot of people that don't know that. Maybe that's
Really?
why. Yeah, that's a lot of. But I think in 2019 there was Kings that recruited a guy called Simbular. He
Hmm.
was a 7'2" Indian descent. I think he was born in Canada. He was like massive. So he came to India, and that's where I think there was a lot of Kings fan. Um, just like the energy was going around in India. So I think that was the first time where the Indian people got the taste of Sacramento Kings. But Sacramento Kings isn't on the radar with Indian crowd, not
I
yet.
mean, I think, typically, like, the names. I mean,
Yes.
there's certain names in the NBA that are synonymous all over. Well, now there's a
Hmm.
lot of international names,
Right.
with the NBA. The
Hmm.
NBA is probably the one league. Well, I mean, NHL has got some various countries, but
Hmm.
it's not anywhere as big as the NBA.
Right.
You have individuals all over the world coming
Hmm.
into play, and basketball with FIBA is so popular across the
Right.
world. I mean, it's
Hmm.
not quite football or soccer yet,
Yeah.
but it's getting there.
Yeah.
Would you
Mhm.
say that?
Definitely. Yes. Like throughout the world, even in Australia, like I know they do look up to NBA. And then the NBL guys over here are pretty much like Australia has become a good pathway for even players from America to come here in the NBL, play a couple of years, and then head back to the NBA. And like they've been really channeling that through pretty good. And I
Well, I
hope the
mean,
same thing happens
yeah,
here.
I mean, I remember when I was at Gardner Webb back in the early
Hmm.
2000s, we had a bunch of athletes, basketball players specifically, that played
Right.
basketball for us. And I know at Virginia, Tony
Hmm.
Bennett, the men's basketball coach at Virginia, he played over in New Zealand for a little while.
Yep.
Um, so I mean, that whole Pacific Oceania kind of area,
Hmm.
it seems like basketball is kind of escalated. What
Yep.
do you think, from a standpoint of India? How does India take the next steps basketball wise, and kind
Hmm.
of raise the bar?
Right. We definitely need a league. Uh, I think the difference between us and other countries is we only have certain tournaments, and it's just like maybe a week long. That's it. And then the next tournament will be in the next month. So there's not like a set league where players play every weekend or midweek,
Mm.
and then they focus on training specifically for the games. I think that's what we're missing. And then there's the federation, so our federation, which is Basketball Federation of India. They're trying to bring out some league structure, and I hope that gets put into place pretty quick, because that's the missing piece for us to elevate our game. Because then we can bring the same thing, bring two imports and change the game and see how teams play, good coaches, outsourcing coaches maybe, and that way it'll be a good structure to step it up.
I've had an opportunity to meet the new president of basketball, and he seems super impressive and super excited about getting things done. I mean, it's one of those things you can see when you meet somebody, when somebody's excited, you can kind of feel it. You can kind of feel that energy, and he definitely, felt that way when I was with him a few months ago. So, I got to ask you this question, because this is a little bit off, but you've got a couple companies that you do as well. You're kind of the entrepreneur while you're playing. Samson Kicks. Well, what the heck is that all about? What's Samson Kicks?
It's just a shoe. I feel like I don't know, I just love basketball shoes, or just any kind of shoes, and I do hoard shoes. I wouldn't have more than 10 pairs, but I'm kind of like, definitely limited. But I think for me, the whole Samson Cakes is to do something passive, make money passively, and also like helping kids kind of like, just bring the swag in with like good cakes. And I think that's just why I'm like doing it, just for kids, to like grab a hold of a good shoe. And like the kids over here that I play with, and in our basketball club, we have junior teams. So, they always they come up to me, Samson, I got the Grinches, or I got the Ja Morants, or, they got the new LeBrons now. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So I feel like I like that energy that goes around the club over here. And
you just mentioned, helping kids out and doing things for the youth in the sport. And you've got a company or a business of teaching skills with Sandhu Skills.
Yep.
Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Just making sure. I didn't want to screw that up. But I mean, obviously being a point guard, teaching a lot of skills with ball handling and dribbling and such. Is that the main focus of doing that, of kind of taking to the kind of the next level of teaching, taking what you learned on the court personally, and putting it forth to the younger people?
Yeah, I'm just trying to help the kids out and give them the same journey that I was on. Obviously in India, I did have good training, but not the best training what the kids would need to really excel and take their game to the next level. So I just want to add that piece to the kids wherever I go, use them, just give them like the skills that I have, and just kind of like nurture them, and also teach them the principles that like I've been following about, like, being humble, being grateful for things, and, being respectful, and like being tough at the same time. Because that's what I learned back in my school. And I was like, I still carry that to my day. But I just want kids to just like pretty much not real necessarily follow my footsteps, but, just like, because I'm definitely trailblazing. And I want to be a motivation for them, where they can just go out there and do something with basketball, like try to get a college scholarship, or just play professionally, use that pathway, because it's the road that's traveled less. So that's what I want for the kids.
You are listening to Just a Cup on Believe. You can subscribe on Apple, Spotify. You can watch it on YouTube, or go to believe.com to get any of the shows. Remember, it's every team, every topic, and this is a different topic, and it's everywhere. I currently, Coach Fetz, have with me Samson Sandhu from one of the professional basketball leagues over in Australia. Samson is from India, and I am excited to talk more. And you just kind of mentioned the word trailblazing. There's not many individuals directly from India playing professionally outside. You have some that were born in the United States and have kind of done things, or Canada and so forth. But you're kind of a trailblazer in the fact that there's only 2 or 3 that I could find that's playing overseas.
Yep.
What is that like to be literally being a trailblazer in a sport that's trying to grow with, you know, an enormous population that could be, you know, incredible?
Yep. I think it's just, for me, it comes down for, I think God's probably given me this platform to excel. And you know, it's always been like that for me, stepping out in faith, because I'm probably the shortest guy on every team I go. I'm just
You're
like
only
5'8".
5'8", right?
Yep, I'm only 5'8". Maybe 5'9" with shoes. But that's about it. Like, I'm the shortest Indian guy, and like, obviously, if you see me walking on streets, you would never think of me as a basketball player. And yeah, it's just it's kind of it's all God for me. You know, like the work ethic I have to put in, like, being the shortest guy, you gotta work hard and just keep hustling, because that's what I think that's what drives me. Is like, there's not many Indian kids, and I have a younger brother, I have a younger sister too. She's 21. My brother is still 13. They're both really good at basketball, and they're here in Australia now. I
Oh,
brought them
wow.
out here just to see what, you know, the world can offer, what Australia can offer, and just step out in from their comfort zone. Because I feel like a lot of Indian athletes would be comfortable where they're at, and stepping out in the uncomfortable is what they're scared of. And I think it should just do what it takes to get you somewhere. And I feel like that's what I've been doing, just stepping out in faith. And God's been giving me everything.
That's absolutely amazing.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, is somebody you model your game after? I mean, everybody says that, hey, they model out for this person or that person.
Mhm.
Who's the professional basketball, current or former, that you model? You know, where you try to emulate.
Yeah, there was like, when I was growing up, like, I did watch a lot of NBA, but like, for me, I knew like NBA is just like so unrealistic for me to be
Right.
compared to them. There was actually a guy in India. He was a former captain too. He doesn't play anymore. He was in the Indian Army, um, and his name was Sambhaji Kadam. He was from my state, and I think he was the best point guard to come. He was like white chocolate, you know, for India.
Nice.
He was just like nice, flashy, no look passes. You know, and I felt like that I was like that, because a lot of people would tell me, "Hey, your game kind of looks like him." So I think that's where I kind of kept hold of the point guard position, and just more assist focused. You know, trying to be a good team leader on and the floor general on the team. But that was it. Yeah, I think that was the guy for me.
That's awesome. Is there individuals other than him in India that a lot of the younger kids are looking up to, or is it mostly NBA players?
I would say right now, more of the NBA, because every basketball tournament I go to in India, you know, kids are doing step back threes, and you know
Oh,
who
yeah.
does that, you know, fadeaways, all of that. But I think India do need to do a good job of marketing, like, our, you know, like, not in
Your national
homegrown.
teams, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, from our national teams, you know. So I think that will be the next step. And also, I feel like even like the players on our national team don't do a good job of doing stuff in the community, you know. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's needed, because you have to give back to the kids, give back to the community, and like put yourself out there, you know, maybe do a camp or something, or like just go
Right.
out in the villages or go out in schools and do camps. And I feel like that's, some people do it, but it's not like an ongoing thing. And I feel like that would be much better to get the
Right.
name
Well, I
out
mean,
there.
you've got to market. I
Hmm.
mean, and I sit and think, have you ever seen the movie $1 Million Arm?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of my favorite movies. I mean, I saw it well before I ever had the opportunity to go to India personally.
Hmm.
But it definitely got me thinking. Like, I mean,
Yep.
a country that has that many individuals,
Hmm.
there has to be, you know, basketball players, soccer players,
Hmm.
you know. But I think it's, you know, what you said. You got to do clinics. You got to go out and market it
Hmm.
to get
Hmm.
kids that might have that hidden talent
Right.
into the sport, into a sport. And I mean, I thought
Hmm.
that was it was a great marketing, you know, ploy by, you know, the Pirates at the
Yep.
time.
Yeah.
And I mean, those guys, you know, both, you know, ended up signing, but really never
Hmm.
made a fruitful career.
Hmm.
But you look at things and you go, well, who's the next Yao Ming?
Oh yeah.
Who's the next Luca? Who's the next individual that you really never heard of that just kind of came on the scene and India's, I mean, is that what you think too? I mean,
Yep.
If you could be so we'll transition from that, and I'm gonna put you in the hot seat on this one. If you can be like the basketball czar of India, what would be a couple things that you would change? What are two things that you would say, hey, we got to do this better, or we got to do it, period?
I think the one thing comes for me is we have the world's most populated. we're like 1.4 billion. We just I think we recently crossed China. But I think with that also, we have so many people. There's a lot of for Indians, they usually think we're shorter, but I think there is a lot of people that are really tall. And I think necessarily for maybe volleyball or basketball, there's good athletes, but I think we need more people to recognize some talent. Because I think for me, it's like Pascal Siakam. I think of him a lot when it comes to that, because he was not a good player, coming out of high school or anything, but someone saw something in him and they just invested money in him or invested their time in him. And we want someone, like some individuals, that can see that for Indian athletes. And I feel like it will come over time, but I think that's what's like, maybe I would definitely change that to kind of steer everyone's eyes on Indians, because you'll like, just with one person, there's going to be a big market behind them too, because they got 1.4 billion people backing up that person. So
I saw recently, or a business associate of mine sent me, there's a cricket player that has more followers on social media than like you name the 5 biggest stars in the US, and and you can combine them and he has a bigger following, than them. And I'm sitting there going, I don't even know that person is. Like, I couldn't even say his name. Because obviously cricket's not, super popular right now in the United States. I think it could be. But, you said the marketability. I mean, man, could you imagine if basketball grew the traction that it has and got the fan base over there like it has in the United States? I mean, pull up the armored truck and just unload the cash, because I mean that's what you're talking about, right?
Right. It's gonna be huge. Yeah.
I mean, you'd mentioned earlier about a basketball league, like having a true league there. I mean, so there's the IPL, which is the 4th most grossing league in professional sports, which is the Premier League, the cricket league, T20. I mean, soccer's there. You have the baseline volleyball league. I mean, it's not like there isn't, professional sports there. I mean, why is that not kind of happened?
There's been a couple of leagues from outside that wanted to come in, but the federation at that time was a bit hesitant. I don't know what the whole issue with that is, but they weren't trying to get them in and put their foot in. They did a couple of leagues and they did play a few games, but it didn't last pretty long. But I think that's the part of the issue with, like, if there's someone, like, I don't see it as a problem if someone wants to really come in and has a good heart for the Indian talent. I think they should obviously push them, but I feel like the federations maybe want to have the things go their way because they want to put a mark. So maybe that's why it hasn't happened still.
Yeah, there's always craziness of it, but I mean, and there's always reasons. There's always politics behind almost anything that happens. Have you faced? You mentioned being 5'8" is one thing. Have you faced many stereotypes? Being an Indian-born, basketball player. Have you come across that a lot, or?
Yeah. So it's funny because my first road game with Ohio Christian, we were in Indiana. We were driving to Indiana and playing, Indiana University East. They were like one of the teams in our division. And like when we were warming up, uh, this other guy from the other team, he walks up. He's like, "You play basketball?" I was like, "I'm on the basketball court. What do you mean?" And then, because like I started and I went straight to him. He said, "Okay, I'm right next to you," and I didn't let him score at all. It
That's
was fun, but
awesome.
I was like, that was good. That was a good game. Just yeah, but yeah, I do get stereotypes, just like Indian players with basketball, in the family. So like I stay with the host family,
Okay.
and so that's how the club does it for me. Like gives
Which
me
is
a host.
which is pretty common in a lot of professional leagues around the
Okay,
world and a lot of different sports. I mean,
yeah,
that's,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, so the family I stay with, they just like muck around with me, and they're like, why are you not an IT person, or like fix my laptop or fix my phone?" And they're just like always on about it. But yeah.
it's it's crazy that
Hmm.
that kind of situation is there, right?
Yeah.
But it's when you're trying to break,
Hmm.
barriers, and you'd mentioned
Hmm.
earlier about being a trailblazer, and I think you really are, in a
Hmm.
ton of sense of the word. Um, it comes with it. I mean, it kind of comes with the territory. If you're doing something that others haven't done before, people haven't seen,
Hmm.
you've got to kind of, break the mold and
Yep.
kind of create your own. Would
Hmm.
you say that's true?
Yep. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I agree with that. Yeah.
What is something that defines, talking about, a stereotype?
Hmm.
You just mentioned a couple of things that, that people not thinking that it's, actually, why are you playing basketball? Are you really on the team? Those kind of
Hmm.
things. Where do you go when you hear something like that? I mean, what kind of keeps your focus and keeps you drilled in when that kind of happens?
Yeah. I think it all comes down back to the kids. Uh,
Okay.
for me, it's like I think like the next generation. And for me, like I said, like I'm a big believer in like my faith. This is where God has put me, and I know He's put me to help kids. And also goes back to 2015 when I first moved to another city, and I was training kids that were underprivileged. Not didn't have much to show, and I think that was like the spark of everything that started my journey with. And I just saw them like really working hard. Some kids didn't have shoes. They were, training in slippers, or, like they had flip flops, and they still came, wanting to train and do like the drills that I was doing. So I think that's what kind of keeps pushing me to go after what I'm chasing. And it's also, backed up with my faith, and like I know God's like He's telling me like He's got it, like He's got me, and you keep going, and I'll keep helping you along the way.
So we'll wrap it up on this question
Hmm.
because you've thrown a ton of stuff in. This has been awesome. Um, what advice would you give to a young man that was in your shoes, the
Hmm.
younger Samson that's back in India? What advice would you give them about their dreams and about trying to
Hmm.
make it?
Yeah, I think someone especially coming from India. um, I know we come from an honor shame society, and everything is just society based, and people do what society would do. Or for me, I think like my voice to them would be, I think, block all those noises. King society places where they put you in a box and they tell you do these things. There's these things that will get you to somewhere. But I feel like for me, I want them to step out of their comfort zone, step out of that, just what the society thinks of them, and just kind of like go on their way, do what they want. Because for me, especially with basketball, you can't play basketball when you're 30, 35. You can always work, you can always go back to, your 9 to 5 job or something. But I think the real age of like maybe 15 to 30, 32, 35, maybe, you're not going to get that back. So I think in those years, those are your golden years to kind of pursue something like sports. But yeah, just I think keep going after what they really believe in, and go with God, I would say.
That's awesome. That's some pretty powerful advice.
Mm-hmm.
I've been so impressed with all our guests when they give some advice. It's powerful every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Samson, thank you so much for jumping on Just a Cup and sharing about India basketball and Australia basketball and your journey.
Mm-hmm.
Where can somebody find out about your skills camp and about you more about you? Where can they find that?
I think it's just probably Instagram more. I've been really investing my time in Instagram and trying to build my brand. So yeah, I think you could probably find my social media or something, and then
Samson underscore Sandhu.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Awesome. Well, hey, we appreciate. We're gonna follow, how the journey continues to go.
Mm-hmm.
Wish you the best, and man, keep pressing on because there's some great things coming. I can feel it, and I can tell for sure. For Brian Fetzer, my guest, Samson Sandhu, this has been Just a Cup. Make sure you subscribe, comment, like, share, help us continue to grow across the country. And we've had people from all over the place on now. We appreciate it. Have a great one and be blessed, my friends.